Hello everyone, this is Dr. Achal and I welcome you again in our subject module titled as Services Marketing. In our previous discourse, we have learnt with the different kind of strategies which the service organization is trying to go in for the purpose of dealing with the important characteristics of the services itself, and we have already discussed the different characteristics which are in the form of the intangibility factor, the perishability factor, and how to just deal out with the core and the primary characteristics of the services, wherein at certain point of time the marketers, they are just trying to tangibilize out the intangible cues. With the help of some tangible cues, they are just trying to tangibilize out the intangibles. And here certain kind of association, the physical aspect, certain kind of documentation are playing a very pivotal role for giving a supplementary aid to the intangibility factor. Especially in case of the pure services, wherein the credence qualities and the process of measuring the credence qualities is very much being difficult for the consumers. Even if the purchase decision is being made and after the consumption also, they are not in a situation to measure and evaluate the credence attributes of the services. Like that is what is being seen in the case of the services that is being consumed in the case of the medical field, or the services that is being offered by the medical practitioners or the lawyers or the consultants. We are very much being difficult enough to measure the credence qualities. Now the next other important characteristic and the feature which is very much being distinct enough in case of the services, they are in the form of the perishability. In our previous discourse, we have also dealt with that perishability itself. It means that here that services, they are not being able, we as a marketer, we are not being able to store the services to get it used for a later course of action, because of the fact that here the production and the consumption should be done simultaneously, because we are not in a position to store it whenever we are in a need for. So in case of the services which are falling in the category of the pure essential services, we as a provider, we have to just ensure that there should be an adequacy and availability of these kind of essential services to be provided to the customers, to the individuals who are in need of getting this particular assimilation of the essentialities. Now in today's discussion, we will be dealing with yet another important characteristics that is being seen in the arena of services, that is related with an inseparability factor. And inseparability factor, which is having a connotation to understand the concept that here the production and the consumption should happen at the same point of time. We are not in a position to segregate the services that is being offered by the people who are in direct touch with the disposition of the services with the core aspect of the service itself. So here we are seeing that the people who are being involved towards the deployment, towards the offering of the services should be, should be very much being sound enough, should be very much being psychologically diligent enough to deal out with the high end customers, because they are in a position to just have a direct contact. So what are the strategies here the service organization has to look into for? That will be dealing in today's discussion, that is the services and the services that is very much being important as in a part of the services arena, and the services which are in the form of the inseparability factor. We are seeing that here the strategy should be developed, it should be evolved so as to deal out with this particular phenomena of the inseparability. Now moving on with the slide. Now this slide says that the important strategies and the procedural plans to deal out with the inseparability factor. We are saying that inseparability here means that the inability of many of the services to be separated from the service provider. The customer contact is often considered as an integral part of the service experience. When a service is created and the consumer is simultaneously there, can be using out a substantial amount of communication between the consumer and those who provide out the services. At each point of contact of provider and the consumer, there is an encounter. The service encounter is the moment or interaction between the customer and the firm that results from the simultaneous production and the consumption of the services. So earlier also we have said that here the inseparability factor, it is being understood in the sense that the services, they are in such a form wherein it's very much being difficult enough to segregate or to bifurcate both the aspects, that is the aspect of the service provider and the core offering that is being generated by him or her in order to satiate the needs and the aspirations of the people. So, it means that is we are finding it difficult, or it is somewhat, it is very much being not difficult enough. We can say that it is somewhat very much being it is in a aspect wherein we are not being able enough to segregate it out or to bifurcate out the core offerings of the primary services and the people who are being authorized to dispose of those primary services. We are not being able enough to segregate both the aspects, that is the primary services and the people who are being engaged or who are being authorized to provide these kind of primary services, that is the service provider. So, there should be a very important aspect to look in for, wherein we are seeing that the customer contact is often considered as an integral part of the service experience. There is an important need, it is very imperative to consider that the customer should be there at high end zones. There are certain kind of essentialities wherein the customers are in a position of high end zones, and it is an imperative duty of the service firm to satiate these the expectations and the needs of these high end customers with the personalization and with the customization of their offerings to provide them a great contentment. So, the customer contact is often a very integral part of the service experience, because until unless the customers are there with the service provider, the organization will not be able to deliver it out to the best of its ability. Further, we are seeing that when a service is being created, the customer simultaneously their presence should be there. And earlier also we have reiterated out the same fact that in certain instances there is a situation in which the customer and the consumer should be there in a high contact zone, wherein we are talking of the services which are falling in the category of the pure services, like the services of being offered by the medical practitioners, the offerings that is being offered by the legal consultants, management consultants, the lawyers are there. So, there is an important need in order to just assimilate out these abstract experiences, these abstract moments in a delightful way, in a more comprehensive way, or in order to have a more contentment and a gratification. There is an important need to have a touch with the service provider. Then only the customers will be in a situation to assimilate these kind of abstractness and these kind of phenomena to a greater extent. So, a substantial communication between the service provider and the customer should be there in order to have an effective crafting and the delivery process of those important abstractness. Further, we are seeing that at each point of contact of the provider and the consumer, there is an encounter. We are using out the word encounter. It means whenever there is a direct interaction between the service provider and the customer, we are seeing that there lies an encounter between both of them. And here the encounter is being seen in the sense that the service encounter is the moment of interaction, that is the moment of truth between the customer and the firm that results from the simultaneous production and the consumption of the services. We have already said that there lies an important need to have a simultaneous production and the consumption of the services in order to just have an effective delivery process. So, the direct interaction is very much being needed enough. We have taken many of the examples. Similarly, there can be an instance wherein the customer themselves, they are reaching out to the service provider, or in other instance we can experience that the service provider, they themselves are reaching out to the customer or to the consumer in order to provide out an effective personalization aspect of their offerings. Like in that particular aspect, like the salespeople of your organization, they are approaching out to the customers and the consumers in order to just inform and persuade out with regard to the offerings they are having on, and in order to motivate them to go in for their purchase of their products. So, direct interaction is being needed, and here the service organization themselves, they are reaching out to the customers. Customers themselves, they are not approaching to the firm, but the firm themselves, they are approaching out to the high end customers. Or the third situation can be wherein the consumers are at an arm's length, and here even if for the purpose of effective assimilation of the offerings, the customers are at distant level, but even then the effective assimilation of these abstractness is being it is happening in that particular aspect. Like we are not in a mood to go in a brick and mortar store for the purpose of any if we have to purchase a certain kind of spectacles, and we are not finding out time, we are having a paucity of time to go in a particular brick and mortar store to purchase spectacles suiting out our personality, suiting out our facial features. In that particular instance, we can just customize out our spectacles with the help of some apps that is being provided by Lenskart and other brand to suit out with your facial features. They will be just trying to take out the image, and they will be capturing out the image in their own website, and they will be just trying to customize according to your own facial features. They will be customizing out the spectacles that is more being suited enough to your facial aspect. So this is in a way, and they will be providing out the you as a customer or a consumer, you will be able to purchase and consume those spectacles by sitting comfortably at your home or at your office. You can virtually go in for the transaction process. So this is in a kind of service wherein you are not visiting out to in a particular department or to a particular brick and mortar store. Even then the firm are trying to customize and personalize you the offerings according to your own discretion, according to your own convenience. So we are seeing that the service encounter is the moment of interaction, the moment of truth between the customer and the firm that results from simultaneous production and consumption of the services. Now moving on to the next slide, here we are seeing that further we are adding that the customer assesses the quality from the quality of the encounter. This is the encounter or the moment of interaction or the moment of truth, which can result in positive or negative assessment of the quality depending on how well the employees meet the individual expectations and what is the attitude of the employees towards the customers and how they communicate with them. This particular situation, this particular fact is very imperative here to discuss, that people who are in direct touch with the high-end customers, they need to be oriented enough, their psychological temperaments should be diligent enough, their motivation level, how they are thinking, the perception, the attitudes regarding a particular phenomena, the beliefs, the disposition to act in a certain kind of way, their learning habits, their personality, all these factors, they play a very important role whenever the people who are being authorized enough to just deal with the high-end customers. So here we are seeing that the consumers, they are at certain point of time, they are assessing the quality of your service organization, the quality of the services which you are dealing in the form of the primary services. They are trying to evaluate the quality of the services in terms of associating the psychographic elements, the personal attributes of the employees or the people who are supposed to deliver those important primary services to them. So the moment of interaction between the customer and the service provider plays a very important role, and here as a proactive and an effective agile marketer, we have to just ensure that their encounter and the moment of interaction should be very much being effective enough. Then only there can be a situation of positive or negative assessment. We as a provider will be able to measure the positive and the negative aspect of or the negative response which the customers are showing with the purchase and the consumption of a certain kind of core offerings. This is very much being understood in the case of the purchase and the consumption of the physical commodities. In the same way, in the aspect of the services, we are duly being concerned towards measuring out the response level of the customers or the consumers in terms of their positive reinforcement or in terms of their negative detachment with the purchase and the consumption of your services after a certain eventual process. So the positive reinforcement will happen when after the purchase and the consumption of your primary offerings, the customers and the consumers, they have felt they have been fully gratified, the contentment level is optimized, it is at the optimum level, and then after this particular process they will be having on a feel of delightment. So if the performance of the product, if the performance of the offering is more as compared to the expectations of the customers, definitely there is a situation in which the customers or the consumers may develop a feel of a repetitive purchase process will happen, because that will lead towards delightment, and the positive reinforcement will happen eventually with the passage of time. The positive reinforcement is somewhat to be understood in the sense that here the customers and the consumers will go in for the purchase process and the consumption of your offerings again and again, if they are being very much being delighted enough with your offerings, and gradually with the passage of time that will lead towards building up on a good credible relations with you, developing a goodwill factor, and a loyalty is also to be seen, which may be turning in the form of the hardcore loyalist customers for you, for your brand and for your offering. So this is a positive assessment of the quality, depending on how much well qualified your employees are who are acting in the frontline staff, how much well diligent they are, and how much sensitive and empathetic resilience they are having out in their personality, the factor of resilience, the empathy, the responsiveness, the association factor should be good enough. Then only the customers will be developing out this positive reinforcement. Conversely to it, there can be a situation in which the customers and the consumers, they are not feeling out that delightment, and the performance of the product, because of the purchase and consumption, the performance of the product is not up to that particular expectation which they have hold in their personality, which they have thought of with the consumption of the offerings. If that happens, so definitely with each and every purchase process, we know that the customers, they have involved out their they have devoted out their efforts in the form of time, talent and treasure. So these precious resources which are being devoted by the customer and the consumers, if they are not being up to the mark, if the performance of the product, or if the the experience that they are expecting it from the core offerings of your primary services, they are not up to the mark, definitely that will lead towards development of a cognitive dissonance amongst the consumers. So this situation of cognitive dissonance is what is being talked of in the form of developing and evolving certain kind of frustration going on in your personality, because cognitions itself, it is being associated with certain thought process, the beliefs, how you are thinking of, how you are behaving, what is in a mental level, the way you dispose of, the way you develop a disposition towards a certain product, towards a certain phenomena, advertisements or a brand. So here we are seeing that this negative reinforcement may also happen, because if the performance of the product is not up to the mark, we will not be gratified, will not be satisfied, and definitely the negative assessment of the quality of your core offerings may develop in the minds of the customers and in the minds of the prospects also at certain point of time. So acting as a proactive marketer, trying to go in for a proactive strategy for a service or organization, here the marketers have to just foresee that the employees need to be oriented enough, they need to be given intermittent training and orientation with the changing scenarios, because demographic conditions are changing, technological factors are changing, the expectations, the aspirations, temperaments of the customers are changing, the competitive condition is altogether it is moving on. We have to go in for the proactive strategy, and if this proactive strategy is being copied by your competitors in the form of the reactive way, then as an effective marketer we have to just defend those reactive strategies of the competitors move, and we have to go in for a very smart kind of move in order to just not only for the purpose of developing and building out a good strategy and developing and crafting out a good relationship amongst the customers, but yes, in order to just have a good association with the customers over a long period of time, and in order to just survive in this competitive scenario by outsmarting out the competitors. So this attitude of the employees a very important factor to talk of, because they are in direct touch, they are in direct interaction with the customers. They need to have that particular kind of sensitivity, they need to have that particular kind of interpersonal skills, the intrapersonal skills, the skills of good communication, the talent how to deal out with certain kind of, in the case of certain kind of a dilemmatic situation, how to just help the customers out if they are facing certain kind of certain kind of dilemmatic situation is being faced by them, how to just go out sometimes out of the way and thinking it out of the box to just create and innovate and give a proper solution to the customers if they are in a need to have so. So, this communication should be there. This communication is playing a very important role because earlier discourse also we have talked of the same fact that if someone is sending you certain messages, the sender is in a same connotation, but you as a receiver, you are not in a position to assimilate those messages that is being received by that is being given by the sender. You as a receiver or recipient, you are not being able to assimilate in the same sense, then there can be a situation in which linguistic barriers happen. So because of this linguistic and this semantic barriers, you as a marketer, you have to just come out within a proper kind of way wherein the communicative ability should be profound enough, it should be diligent enough to interact with your customers who are in direct touch with you, who are in direct touch with you, so as to give them a proper information, so as to give them a proper motivation and persuasion to go in for the consumption process. Now, the strategies, further we are elaborating that the strategies for dealing with the inseparability factor, what are the important strategies to be borne into mind by the service firm. Here we are seeing that the strategies to deal with the inseparability factor should focus on generating a positive service encounters, so that the customers and the consumers, they are assured good quality, they are assured of the good quality, and a strong relationship develops between the employees and the customers. The same factor which we have reiterated many a times, that the strategies are in the form of, or the strategies to deal out with the characteristic of inseparability, it is only being associated in the form of generating and developing a positive reinforcement, a positive connotation amongst the consumers whenever they are in a direct touch or whenever they are encountering out within a service firm or a service provider. So, this positive service encounter, an important factor to be borne into mind by the firm, and if the encounter is positive enough, if the service encounter is positive enough, that definitely that will lead towards building a strong relationship amongst the customers and the firm, thereby generating a loyalty factor and a goodwill amongst the employee and the customer. Now, these are strategies, specific strategies to be looked in for, and we are seeing that the strategies used by the marketers here include 3 of them, that is building membership relationship, personalizing out the services, and providing sensitivity training. 3 of the strategies, that is building membership relationship, a specific one, we are seeing that how to develop, how to go in for building a good relationship amongst the customers, an important factor. Building up a relationship, it commits and it warrants to go in for a long association between you as a customer and with the service firm or with the service organization. Here it is a challenging factor for each and every service organization to build and to associate that particular kind of credibility, which is very much being difficult enough to measure or to just go in for the measurement of certain attributes which may fall in the category of the credence qualities. So, there are certain service experiences wherein the quality, the service quality of the services, they can be, they can be measured before moving for the purchase process. There can be an instance wherein the experience features, experience quality of the services can be measured. Like we can take an example, like suppose if you are in a mood and if you are like, you have purchased out an automobile and a car. The purchase of the automobile or a car, it is somewhat a tangible good to talk of, very good enough to get, our sensory organs are very much being receptive enough to just recognize out this tangible evidence which is in the form of the car. And if you have purchased out that particular car, definitely all our sensory organs in the form of the eyes, they will be just having a conspicuous presence because they are being easily recognized by our sensory organs. But with the purchase, the color combination. We are able to recognize out the color combination also of that car. So, before moving for the purchase, we are trying to recognize out the color combination with the help of our sensory receptors, and that is what is an attribute to be called in for an attribute of the quality credence. This is a quality credence. Now, there is a convenient situation in which the experience credence can also be talked of, and this is in another category falling in the other category, like suppose if you have visited to a hotel or in a restaurant, because you are hungry or you are in a need of consuming certain physical meals, moving out in a particular specific hotel or a restaurant, it is somewhat feel the decor, the ambience, a thematic representation, the beauty, the interiors you are recognizing in the abstract form, and for those recognition, the documentation, the flotation of the menus, the flotation of the editorials, the flotation of the providing you information in the form of certain kind of artifacts are there to help you out, the proper arrangement, seating arrangements are there, a good ambience is there. The supplementals are aiding you out to evaluate out the quality of the experience which you are in the form of the consumption of the physical meals. So, just moving out to dine out in a restaurant or to dine out in a hotel, all these supplementals will be aiding you out, it will be helping you out to measure out the quality and the effectiveness of the physical meals which you are trying to consume it for. And after the consumption of the physical meals, you will be worthy enough to evaluate out the experience quality of that particular restaurant or the hotel in which you have visited in for. Because all these physical infrastructures, the supplementals, they are there with you. You have already, when you have visited out to a particular restaurant, you have just evaluated those kind of those kind of physical presence of the physical factors, the physical infrastructural facilities, and after the consumption of the physical meals, you are very much being sure enough to evaluate the quality and the consumption of the meals that is being offered in that particular specific hotel or the restaurant. So, this is an experience quality to talk in for. Now, there is another quality that is very much being difficult to evaluate, that is the credence quality also. We have said that in this particular instance, it is very difficult that even if the purchase process it has happened with you, you have consumed out the services, even then there can be a possibility wherein you as a customer, you are not able to measure the efficacy and the effectiveness of the credence attributes of the offering. Like visiting to a medical practitioner, you have visited to a particular doctor to get rid of any kind of disease with which you are suffering from. So, this is an aspect wherein the even if before the purchase and after the consumption of the services, you are not very much being at ease to measure out the efficacy of the services or that is being offered by a medical practitioner or by a lawyer. So, that is falling in the category of the qualities of the credence quality. So, building up a membership relationship, a difficult aspect, and here the strategies are should be a very much strong enough, maybe in the form of offering a discount factor, maybe in the form of giving the coupons, redeem coupons can be given, maybe in the form of going in for the deployment of rebates, certain coupons can be floated to the customers, so that's to develop a strong relationship with the customers and your firm. So, building up membership relationship, personalizing all the services, yes, in the case of the pure services, we are trying to customize and giving a personalized approach to the high-end customers, and this personalization factor is an important attribute to talk in for, because the customers themselves, they are very much being sensitive enough in terms of the prices factor, they are very much being sensitive enough in terms of the quality and the attributes that they are going in for the purchase and the consumption of a particular primary offer. So, personalization, an important attribute in case of the services, that can be seen in the form of whenever you are visiting to a grooming center, to a physical wellness center, that the people they are being deployed, the employees they are being deployed, they are trying to give you a personalized approach, that speaks of a lot. Similarly, if the students are there in a lecture theatre in a particular classroom, there are certain students who are not very much being good enough to assimilate what are the things that you are trying to channelize upon. They can be given a personalized attention as and when they are in a need for. So, this personalization and the customization speaks of a lot in case of the services arena. Third one, we are seeing that the providing out the sensitivity training. Many times we have used out the word training and orientation, and this training and orientation we have discussed from the perspective of the employees who are working in your establishment as in a particular service organization. Giving them a brainstorming factor, trying to engage them in a certain in a certain group discussion, giving them an information to be abreast with the different kind of changes happening in the environment, trying to develop a resilience, a perseverance and empathy of looking towards building up a sensitivity factor, trying to check out the feelings, associations, these kind of attributes, and trying to look at towards others with these kind of attributes. That is developing a habit of resilience, developing a habit of empathy, trying to look in for those aspects and those the feelings and associations of the other people, and trying to look like your perspective should be from the other's perspective. You as an employee should try to should try to have a perception to be developed from the customer's point of view. So, this is what a quality that is being talked of as an empathetic factor, developing an empathetic factor. So, there can be instances in which we are saying that the employees should be trained enough, they should be oriented enough, and all these sensitivity trainings are being provided to the employees who are working in your establishment to provide an effective delivery process to the customers. But the strategies that is being pursued by the marketers, there can be a situation in which we as a marketer, we are trying to sensitize out to the customers. We are providing out a sensitivity training to the customers at certain point of time because of the high interaction, or because the customers are falling in high end zones, and you as a service provider, you need to sensitize them in certain situations so that they are developing at an empathetic factor. They are having out that particular association to get in touch with you again and again. Continuously you have to give them a proper kind of reinforcement, so that eventually the passage of time they will be developing out this particular kind of positive reinforcement, and definitely giving them on a sensitivity training and orientation will also be helpful enough from the customers, because the customers will be developing a unique selling proposition, like the customers themselves, they will be developing upon a unique characteristics for the offerings that they are trying to assimilate upon. And you as a marketer, you will be outsmarting the moves of the competitors at certain point of time. So, these are the three of the strategies, that is developing a membership relationship, personalizing out the services to the customers, or giving them a customized approach, and engaging the customers to get themselves engaged in the sensitivity training, not only from the employee's point of view, but from the customer's point of view. These three strategies will be diligent enough to provide a good offering to the customers at large. So, in today's aspect, in today's discussion, we have dealt with how to deal out with the factor of the inseparability, what are the important strategies which the marketers has to just pursue, they have to just go in for to deal out with the this core aspect of the inseparability. So, with this, I hope that you people have understood the strategies of dealing out, or the strategies that is being dealt by the organization to come up or to just deal out with the unique characteristics of the inseparability with three of the ways, that is the personalization aspect, the building up a membership relationship, and then giving them a training and the orientation. So, till then stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you.